One stat before we go. Venezuela was very crime-ridden. They announced the other day 72% reduction in crime in the last year. You know why? They moved all their criminals from Venezuela right into the good old USA. And Biden let them do it. It's a disgrace.
But, sir, where are those numbers coming from?
I guess I get them from the papers.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
We know lying is second nature to him. He likes to do it as much as he likes snoozing in the courtroom. But come on, this was a softball.
It's a disgrace.
But, sir, where are those numbers coming from?
I guess I get them from the papers. In this case, I think it's a federal statement, or, well, they're coming actually from Venezuela. They're coming from Venezuela.
We'll have to check on that. But
the fact is, he likes to lie a lot, but his favorite place to lie is at his rallies. He says often at his rallies that he won millions more votes than Biden.
I got many millions of votes more. It was unprecedented. The largest vote ever for a sitting president. And they say we lost. No, we didn't lose. We didn't lose.
It's an easy fact check. Despite the big lie, we know how to count in this country. And the fact is, Biden set a new record. He received more than 80,284,000 votes. That was more votes than any other president received in history.
First of all, I won in 2020 by a lot, okay? Let's get that straight. I won in 2020.
You know that this,
and if you look at all of the tapes, if you look at everything that you want to look at, you take a look at Truth to Vote, where they have people stuffing the ballot boxes on tapes, or
Mr. President,
let's go to recent. Well, wait a minute. Let's go to recent. FBI Twitter. Let's go to recent. The 51 agents, all corrupt stuff, Brett.
Understand about the Hunter Biden,
no, but
all
that's cheating
fair
on the
things.
election.
But
that's cheating on the election.
You lost the 2020 election.
Brett. You take a look at all of the stuffed ballots. You take a look at all of the things, including things like the 51 intelligence agents.
There were recounts in all of the swing states. There was not significant widespread
We're trying
fraud.
to get recounts, real recounts, not just numbers of votes
widespread
cast.
corruption. There was not a sense of that.
And it was 7 million more votes than Donald Trump received. So in Trump speak, it's always the reverse. Instead of receiving millions more votes than Biden, it was actually Biden that received millions more votes than him. So yes, he lost the popular vote big time in 2020. He also lost the popular vote against Hillary Clinton in 2016. That one was closer, but Hillary Clinton beat him also by millions in votes, in fact, by 3 million votes. He has never won the popular vote ever. Another favorite lie of his at the rallies is that he created more manufacturing jobs than Biden.
We're also going to reclaim America's heritage as the great manufacturing nation, and we were doing that. We were doing that.
The fact is, and yes, there are facts on this because our government keeps meticulous statistics on things like manufacturing jobs. Biden has created about 800,000 manufacturing jobs during his term, while Trump lost 75,000 manufacturing jobs during his term.
Your president, Donald Trump, lost 2.6 million jobs during his 4 years. We've created 13.1 million. Fine, you can maintain a COVID frame. How about the fact that Joe Biden's created more jobs, 6 times more jobs than the previous 3 Republican presidents combined?
Are you going to tell me that...
Like, his supporters like to blame it on the pandemic, both ways, saying Biden didn't actually create that many. It was just rebounded jobs. And the fact is, some of those that were created under Biden were rebounded jobs under a recession. But usually after a recession, those types of manufacturing jobs don't ever rebound. So the fact that even he was able to bring back manufacturing jobs that were lost during the pandemic is very significant. And the pandemic didn't actually hurt Trump as much as his supporters claim they did, because the year before the pandemic had even started, he lost 40,000 factory jobs.
I would say, welcome aboard. Look, this is good policy. It's true that not every member of Congress was there with us when we were working to get this done. And it turns out that is no barrier to them being glad to see that funding come to their districts. I think because this was good policy all along. And look, partisan politics get in the way sometimes. Although we're proud of the fact that this is a bipartisan bill, that a number of Republicans were willing to come across and work with Democrats and work with the president to get this done. Look, a good project is a good project, and we're not going to hold it against the constituents of any member who was short-sighted enough to vote no on the infrastructure or the broadband or the clean water pipes that they are now so quick to join us.
In addition to the manufacturing jobs he's already created during his term, President Biden has set up the country and the economy to create millions more over the next years because of two very significant acts that he developed and was passed under his administration. Specifically, the CHIPS Act that was passed in 2022 that will bring semiconductor manufacturing here in the U.S. Evidently, companies have announced over $240 billion in investments to bring semiconductor manufacturing back into the United States. Numerous plants have already been announced and are in development in Ohio and Arizona and Vermont and other places around the country. So those jobs we haven't even fully realized. And then the Inflation Reduction Act, where the climate and clean energy tax incentives will create, according to the government's own estimates, 1 million jobs in energy and related manufacturing sectors over the next 10 years.
35,000 infrastructure projects. And before you say, oh, you're not going to see a bridge for 20 years or whatever, there are Republican senators humiliating themselves on Twitter now, talking about how excited they are that the broadband is coming to them, $3 billion, going on Tommy Tuberville, I think is how you pronounce it, says like, the broadband's coming, and then Joe Biden gets to, quote, retweet him and say, see you at the groundbreaking, which is what he did to Mitch McConnell. John Cornyn's been doing it, Nancy Mace, Elise Stefanik. These are people who voted against the things that their constituents are now going to get, and they want to take credit, and they don't deserve it for voting against it. 10.5 million new applicants for small business loans in the last 2 years. That's the fastest we've seen that happen over a 2-year period. So, one of my favorites, U.S. consumer confidence, talked about that. It's at a 17-month high. I'm not saying that the right track.
From where? I thought you were going to say 17 year.
What?
From where?
From COVID. You think COVID didn't? Well, but it does matter when you say that he doesn't have stuff to run on. It's just not true.
He also lies a lot about gas stoves and windows.
They also want to take your gas stoves. They want to give you very little water in your dishwashers and your washing machines. They want washing machines with very little water. And I'm talking about in states like your state, you don't have a water problem. You do have a water problem. You have too much water. They want to take your water out of your washing machines, your dishwashers. They want to put water restrictors on your sinks and showers. I ended all of that. People would buy a new home, and they were so proud, and they'd say, darling, it's so good. There's only one problem, darling, the sink. No water comes out, like drip, drip, drip. And darling, I have beautiful hair, but I can't do anything because in the shower, the water doesn't come out. Darling, I want to get out of this house. I hate it. And I say to them, take off the restrictor. But now they made the restrictor where you can't take it off unless you have a blowtorch, okay? Like our auto workers do, actually. They want your apartments and homes with small windows and every other crazy thing they can think of. They don't want you to have large windows because they're not as good with the sun. Actually, in many cases, they're better.
Strange segues for him there in that monologue, but let's take the washing machines. First of all, we do have water bills, even in a state that rains a lot. So is it actually bad that it might be cheaper to wash our clothes? Okay, and then gas stoves. So this is where this all came about. Evidently, indoor gas stoves is actually really dangerous for children's health, and that gas stoves are tied to a 35% increase risk of asthma in children. So there was a commissioner in the U.S. Consumer Product Safety that talked about these risks at a commission meeting, talking about the risks and how to address these risks. And it was used as a fundraising tool in MAGA world with the quote, "They are taking your gas stoves." It became so outlandish and so not tied to reality that the White House even had to come out and say, no, they are not taking their gas stoves. And in terms of the commission, what they are actually planning on doing with the gas stoves is just having voluntary regulation that will make it safer for people children in particular not to develop asthma. And this isn't for any current gas stoves, but only new stoves that can go on the market. Maybe they will actually protect children's health a little bit if these manufacturers voluntarily want to follow the regulations.
They want your apartments and homes with small windows and every other crazy thing they can think of. They don't want you to have large windows because they're not as good with the sun. Actually, in many cases, they're better.
So the lie about small windows might be one of his strangest lies. It evidently started in 2020 during an interview he had with Sean Hannity about the Green New Deal that was being proposed and talked about then. Started to talk about how this was somehow, the Green New Deal was limiting the size of windows and we are all going to end up with these small windows. So sometimes it's hard to fact check him because it's not that he's just embellishing things or that he's misinterpreting things, but that he's completely making things up out of whole cloth. Because the fact is, nowhere in that 14-page Green New Deal is there even a mention of windows. So I can't even explain to you where on earth he got the concept of these small windows.
For our president, I have great confidence in his leadership.
I don't want him to
what he's
fail.
been able to accomplish.
I think his policies are failing.
CHIPS Act, Science Act, do you oppose that?
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram @MeidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.